There you are. This is The Flower of Freedom by Deborah J. Reeves. All rights to both this original book and to my presentation of it are reserved. We're at chapter 85, and that's called Legacy. Your seat is ready. We hope you've come, ready to take a break from your busy day. We wish you rest and relaxation and all the good blessings that are out there on your own good heart. Here we go, chapter 85, Legacy. Hans called his lawyer the day after he received the envelope with the contents of the containers that were on their way to Canada. He updated his will and he left everything to Bertie. He gave the lawyer the contents of the envelope that he had taken from the safety deposit box in Zurich, with instructions that they were to go to Bertie if he died. He told the lawyer that he had no intention of dying any time soon. Only the good die young, he laughed, and the lawyer, who was always a bit skittish around him, tried to smile. He also gave the lawyer a letter to be given to his son upon his death. Hans wanted to take care of the gory details. One of those details was reminding the lawyer that he had another lawyer who was going to watch his every move during the probate process, and that should that lawyer find the smallest item missing, he would tell another man who was equally well paid of all the information that they had on the lawyer's family. It was like that old myth of the snake eating its own tail. Death and rebirth, only in this case, it was death eating more death to ensure that life went on, was the way Hans had determined that it should be. When the frightened lawyer left Hans, he went back to bed. He slept for another 10 hours, and he woke up hungry. He ordered in more food, and he talked to the doorman about getting the maid in to clean the place. She would arrive at 2 the next day, so Hans would go for a drive for a couple of hours at that time, he told the doorman. He still didn't want to see anyone. He asked the doorman about the framing of the key, and he was told that the key would be framed and back to Hans in 2 more days. Hans wondered when the gift that he had sent to his son would arrive, and he wondered if he had sent the right thing. He was surprised to find that it mattered to him. At the hospital, the reunited group parked their cars and entered the main entrance. They had become a familiar sight, and the lady at the desk that day called to Dietrich. She handed him a small package that had just arrived. It was addressed to Bertie, and it had his room number on the address label. Would you mind taking it up to your friend? The porter who makes the deliveries always does the flowers first, and this will not get to Bertie's wing for hours, she said. And she smiled when Dietrich said that it would be no problem, and that they were all going there now. The warrior queen nurse was sitting at her station when the elevator doors opened. She almost smiled. Herr Bosk introduced their new friends from Paris, who had not seen Bertie yet, and she told them all to go ahead to his room, but to please be quiet for the sake of other patients. They nodded and hurried along. For once Bertie was alone in his room. He had a book of skyscrapers resting on his knees, and it was braced by the little table that cantilevered over the bed. He smiled as he looked up and he saw Francois and Josette. "You came so far," he exclaimed. "You didn't have to do that. We were keeping Michaud in line." He threw a sideways glance at Michaud, who responded with, "More like I was keeping you in line. You have no idea how many nurses I've had to ward off just to protect you." "Same old Bertie," It would take more than a hitman to take you out, said Francois, who then considered what he said with a frown. No one noticed because Josette ran over to Bertie and gave him a delicate hug as she wiped back the hair from around his face. "Oh, our beautiful boy, you're still beautiful. Aren't they feeding you in here?" She had no idea why that made everyone laugh. Dietrich put a package on the tray and said, "The lady at the front desk asked me to bring this up to you." Bertie looked at the package and he held up his hands in his trademark gesture. And he asked Dietrich if he could open it. Dietrich said sure, and he tore open the brown paper wrapping. Marie was not paying attention. She had perused the room, and taken an enclosure card from another arrangement, and she was following through on the plan that she and Bertie had hatched about ensuring that other people had flowers in their rooms. She stopped halfway to the door when Dietrich said, "Wow, that's a Submariner." He showed the watch to Bertie. "Who's it from?" he asked. "There's no card, no return address, no nothing. It was just addressed to you in this hospital room. Bertie, this is a really great watch, one of the best, if not the best," Dietrich said with enthusiasm. The three musketeers were on full alert, looking at the watch but saying nothing. "Has to be a mistake," said Bertie with a shrug. "It must have been meant for someone else. Take it back to the desk and see if someone claims it." By then, Dietrich had gingerly taken it out of the box. "No mistake, Bertie. Your name's on the back. I bet someone here in Switzerland felt badly about what happened to you, and some group got together who knew someone at Rolex, and they sent you an anonymous gift by way of apology. I know that some groups my dad belongs to do things like that from time to time. Everyone feels bad and everyone wants you to feel okay about coming back. There's no question, Bertie. Names don't get engraved on watches by accident." "No one had to do that," Bertie protested. "I'm a big boy. I understand that people are people, and that there are the good, the bad, and the ugly anywhere you go. Papa taught me that." "Well said, buddy, but you still have a brand new watch. I wish I had a Submariner," Dietrich exclaimed. "Maybe you should wear it for a while, Dietrich," said Bertie, holding up his cast and his splintered fingers. "I won't be able to until these come off." They laughed again, but they did not notice everyone else in the room was not laughing. That's the end of chapter 85. Please consider subscribing and giving us a thumbs up just because you want to pat us on the head. Thank you. Bye-bye.